Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. It's Wednesday, September the 13th, and like every Wednesday, I am joined by my two cohorts on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast, Mr. Jesse Shule and Mr. Sean Higgs, all three of us from GamblersWorld.com. Gamblers World is our sponsor, and we're lucky to have them to support our show. So, Jesse, how are you?
Doing fine, Ross. Came up short on the baseball yesterday, but we're looking at football all weekend, so that's where the money is going to be made this month.
So, and again, Jesse, if you have not followed Jesse or if you haven't been tuning into the show, Jesse's got an impeccable record in the month of September in both college football and the NFL since 2021. And talking about an impeccable record, this guy, Sean Higgs, 64% last year in the NFL, gets off to an 8-5 start in week one. And yes, he did put out 13 picks. And yes, he has 14 picks in week two. Sean, how are you?
Pretty good. Yeah. Nice little start to the season. I'll take it. And I'll try to bring some energy. I'm somebody like that. Apparently I'm not energetic or talkative enough on the show. So I got to address that. I'm sorry. I have to start talking more, everybody.
Obviously, and again, we encourage all your comments, but some of them once in a while does make us scratch our heads. One guy chimed in yesterday that Sean finally looked woken up and had some energy.
I mean, and that's that guy Al, he's been in shows before. Be like, I mean, what do you mean? It's always like, hey, he looks upbeat and alert. Like, what? I mean, like, okay, I don't. All right, everybody.
Well, it's amazing you got any energy left, Sean, after having to put out 25 games in college and pro football before Tuesday. If I had to do that, I'd have no energy left.
I'd be exhausted. I'm exhausted analyzing one game.
It does start sucking the life out of you, like on a Wednesday, Thursday, when I start putting in a little paragraph on the games and stuff like that. Then it gets then my brain starts working extra hard.
Yeah.
Because you can't. I mean, some things you just you got to have reasoning. People want to know, all right, what's your think behind this? And my reason is pretty simple. Most of the time, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. It's worked for me for a long time.
I've always been of the mindset, Jesse, that sometimes your analysis on a game is more important when you lose than when you win, because when you win, your analysis is extremely accurate. At the end of the day, because a winner's a winner, right? I mean, barring an exception here and there, but when you lose, the customer and the client wants to see that you had a method to your madness. And of course, a lot of guys will tell me they don't read the analysis anyway. That very well may be true, but from a professional standpoint, I think I owe it to my clients to give them an analysis on each and every pick that I make. Jesse?
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in putting a little bit of effort into the analysis. And I will say that, when you're going to win a game, your analysis is going to look great. That said, you can have a loss and your analysis can be as accurate as it could possibly be. And one example of that I will give is the Colorado game in week one against TCU. We took a lot of flack because I had the under and you guys both had TCU. So none of us won our picks. But when I break down the analysis I gave out on this show, everything I described or the way I thought the game would go unfolded exactly as I said it would, with the exception of Colorado's coaching staff failing to take advantage of the fact that they could easily run the ball. TCU's coaching staff failing to take advantage that they could easily run the ball, and that's eventually what cost them the game and led to the high total. So I pride myself in at least getting that part right.
Very good. And again, folks, it's like the free picks that we give out on this channel. I mean, if you're just solely focused on the free picks and not some of our sports betting discussions, as per like we're having right now, you're not taking anything away. It's like your kid coming home and has homework to do, gets stuck, and you just do all the work for him and give him the right answers. I mean, what happens when the kid sits down for a test? He's not going to know how you arrived at those answers or how to solve a question. So These are the types of things that we like to do on this channel. And like I've said from the get-go, from the onset of this program, my goal and aim has always been, not only for myself, but for all the guys that I bring on, is to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you are yesterday. There's plenty of free pick videos out there where guys just give you a 2-minute analysis and get right to the free pick. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But this isn't that type of forum. So I had one guy who chimed in now twice he's chimed in and says 32 minutes of 3 guys with hot air. Well, you know, and he keeps saying the same thing every time. You keep coming back, though. You know what I mean? Maybe you might learn something other than just the free picks itself. And by the way, our producer, Seth, does a great job. If you're a guy just looking for that free pick,
it's timestamped
in the description of the video, he puts in the exact time of when we release each pick. So again, we can't make it much easier than that. Sean, there's times when we lose a pick, piggybacking off of Jesse's discussion, in his answer, I should say, to my question, there's times when I feel like I evaluate my picks the next day and say, okay, would I make the same pick again tomorrow? And if not, why? And I mean, it's always obvious if you lose a game like the Giants 40-0, well, you made a bad pick. But there are times, okay, that you could say, look, I was spot on, if not for this miscellaneous occurrence happening that doesn't ordinarily happen in the course of a game. Sean?
Yeah, I mean, you take I guess we'll throw it into like a bad beat type loss. Like, well, yeah, it happens. I mean, I try not to really dwell on the losses because then then you're like, what,
yeah,
because then they start ringing up in your head like, oh, this is the way my season's starting here. I'm losing games on interceptions, or we're not making a tackle, guys not taking, whatever the case would be. You have some tough losses, and you're like, here we go. It's like college basketball. Like, I start dwelling on those, and all of a sudden I got like 40 half-point losers in a month, and you're like, what the heck? You can't. I'm a bet and forget it. It's yesterday. I move on. I try not to really think about how the game lost. It was a loser. I'm going to lose. I put out 25 games on a weekend. I know I'm going to lose. I'm going to win more than I lose and make a little money. So I can't really, I don't at least go back and say, what did I do wrong here? Because I didn't do anything wrong. I thought the game was going to win. It's just that simple. I'm not, like,
well, I'm not talking about
whether you had the Giants or you lost on a Colts who couldn't punch it in late. I mean, it's the way the ball bounces.
I'm not really talking about the emotional aspect. I'm talking about.
But you're saying to go into your reasoning behind it.
Yeah,
my reasoning's not going to change because that's what we can say. Well, I should have had. I mean, I should have.
Well, I'll give you an example. Let me give you a better example, Sean, because I don't think I'm not.
The guy the Steelers got annihilated. I was not. I mean, would I do the Steelers again? I would take the Steelers with that defense. That I know the Steelers defense wasn't going to show up, and Kenny Pickett looked like he didn't play a game in the NFL, and Purdy played. How many series did he play in the preseason? Coming off he couldn't even throw the ball for 8 months. No, I'll lose with the Steelers. I'm not going to change my thing.
Well, like, for example, when I lost with Texas Tech in the game against Oregon, where Oregon got that pick 6 with 40 seconds to go, and Texas Tech was covering throughout the whole game up until that point. I was upset when it happened. Who wouldn't be? Okay, but I let it go right away. But I would say that when I evaluate that pick, in the same circumstances with those 2 identical teams facing each other on that day, I would make the same pick again. And I know that sounds stupid, but it's just
you lost on a fluke play. You were right. I was with you on that game. I'm not thinking I'm switching my games around, win or lose. Like I'm still coming back. Because again, in the long run, going 3-2 every day, people are like, oh, you're only 3-2. Well, over 100 games, that's 60%. So I'm saying, like, I don't look at it as one game. It's one tough loss. I know that that's going to flip somewhere else, and I'm going to catch a break down the road, and they offset and move out. Yeah, I know. That way, I'm not changing my thoughts on a loser.
And one thing that Sean is specified right from the get-go, since he's been on this program, is what we all are. When you do this every day, you're a grinder. And if you go 3-2, folks, anytime you're plus money, I don't care if you make $10 for the day after 50 picks for the day. And I'm being hypothetical and sarcastic. But my point being, you make money, you move on to the next day. You don't say, I had a terrible day, only won $10. Now, there's days where you go 3-2 and you feel like you should have went 5-0 and you feel like you lost. But still, at the end of the day, the objective is to make money and move on. And, Jesse, the other part, I'm glad Sean brought this up, is leaving the emotion behind, because I equate it to a doctor. If a doctor is in the emergency, or excuse me, in the hospital visiting or taking care of patients, and one patient dies, can he get emotionally involved when he goes to the next? Because how's that going to affect his judgment when he goes to the next patient? You got to leave the emotion out of it, as tough as it may be. There's
he goes to the next guy. How's your day going, Doc? The other guy died, so hopefully you're the guy who lives today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly right.
Clearly, Sean can't be dwelling on his losses and letting it get in his head, because you wouldn't be able to fire away with 25 picks on a Saturday and Sunday card if you were letting those losses get in your head and you were dwelling on it. In order to be a volume player the way Sean does it, you have to set it and bet it and forget it, and have thick skin. I pride myself in not getting emotional, and 99% of the time I'm able to do that. There's those few games that get you in your head a little bit, but
for sure.
Not very often.
Absolutely. And sometimes taking a pass on a card, especially a short card, is not a bad thing. Okay. It doesn't mean that you're being lazy and you don't feel like making a pick today. It's because you're not finding any betting value. I had one site owner, and I'm not going to mention his name, other than the fact that all three of us are on that site, who ridiculed me the other day to say that, if you sell a football subscription plan, you can't take a pass. They want something every day. And if you don't like something on a Thursday night in the NFL, why you don't have to make a pick. Okay. And if a customer has that mindset, it's a wrong one. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about that. Do you feel like if you sell if you got subscription plans, which we all do from clients, do you feel indebted to have to make a pick in that particular sport every day? Jesse, start with you.
Well, I've had the same experience as you, Ross. I can remember a time a couple years back when I was the #1 handicapper for the season with college basketball at all sites. We were going into the conference tournaments, which for me, the conference tournaments before the big dance is sort of a tough time to handicap games, because a lot of these games are meaningless when teams are looking forward to the tournament. And I took a pass on a Friday in conference tournament play, and I got some angry emails telling me that they're going to refund my customers. And I told them, I said, well, I've got a 3-pack of games up for Saturday. I took a pass on Friday. I was told, think your customers give a crap what you got on Saturday? Well, I swept with that Saturday 3-pack, and I think I hit 80% of my plays in the tournament that year. And I'll continue to do that, and I'll continue to get scolded for doing that. I will pass on Thursday night and Monday night football, because I found over the years that my record with Thursday night football and Monday night football games was not up to par with my Sunday card, because if you're forcing out plays on games that you really don't have a strong feeling on, your record's going to suffer. And as long as you can maintain some kind of winning record in the area of 60% and be on leaderboards, you should be able to dictate how you want to do it. How you do it to get there is how it should be done, and no site owner should be telling you to change anything up.
Yeah, I mean, the objective is to win, right? I mean, in this particular instance, and I don't want to go too far into detail, I just don't agree with the philosophy, is what I'm trying to say. It's nothing personal, but I was #3 in the last 30 days on that site when this happened, and this site owner took, and gave somebody else my subscription plan because the customer demanded a pick every day. It's just, I don't know, Sean, I know you're a volume guy.
Yeah.
So
that makes, because I usually throw out a bunch of games, but Thursday, like baseball yesterday, I did Yankees and Royals at doubleheader. I took all the overs, and it went 1-3. I'm just at this time of year for baseball. And maybe I should have had the A's last couple of games because in the chat I'm like, take the A's, right? The Astros. You're given 280. Take a big dog. I ended up not playing myself, but yeah, you don't have to play because there's a 1:00 game. Even as a guy who plays a lot, I don't just put out games. Oh, baseball playing today. I'm putting 7 games. In a doubleheader spot, I said the other day on the show, I think just as I said, I'm going to take the Phillies both games here today. Doubleheader, home dog Phillies, 2 games. Worst case, they're split it, right? Because you're crazy. Well, that's what I'm looking at in early September when the lines are out of control with baseball. Teams have all but tanked. They're bringing up young guys. I'm not running, and I have 600 games, I bet, this year in baseball. And I'm down a little bit. I'm down about 12 units, which is not good, but, it happens.
But my question
I don't put them out. I don't have
okay.
I got baseball.
Right.
I don't have a baseball game posted today, and there's people with my subscription.
Okay.
Sorry. Why would I? I'm not just going to put a game out to put a game out. And that's from somebody who put your 2 guys together, and I dwarf you in a year. And I'm not putting a game out. But the average person,
for site owners that want to mandate that we play these primetime games on Thursday and Monday nights. If you really feel that strongly that we should be playing these Thursday night, Monday night games, you better make sure you get those lines up a week in advance so we can get them before they get steamed. You better have halftime lines, halftime totals, player props.
Thing, though,
and if you're going to do that, then you can start mandating that we play these games. But until you do that, leave me alone.
On multiple spots, I've gotten an email like, you can't put this line out. Like I can't, my lines move. I don't put out. I was telling you, Jess, I said half of my NFL football I can't put out on a Sunday because I put it in on a Sunday or Monday, and I talk about it and look at lines. How good is it? I sell a Cowboy pick for at a -3,
right?
Or what else is? I mean, I could run down a bunch of games that's moved for me. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, there's any line move, I am involved on it, and that is not on the site. That's why I tell people get a subscription, folks. Don't wait till game day.
Yeah, I'm in charge of the handicappers at gamblersworld.net, and I take that responsibility to Mr. Jim Quinn and the staff there very seriously. And I would never put a mandate and force a handicapper to make a pick, especially like Jesse just said on a Monday and Thursday. And we all have our different philosophies. So my thing is that you don't become demeaning with somebody who has a different philosophy than yours. It's just not a good way to communicate, but to each his own. Let's move on. We have 3 NFL games that we're going to talk about on Sunday. I'm going to be looking at
one last thing to that, though, Ross. The average person, they want action every single day. It's kind of like you advertise for like a sports book, and I was never, when I had my own sites, I never had one on there. I'm like, well, who would want to advertise on somebody who's supposedly a winner? It doesn't make a difference because the people who buy picks or watch shows, they're not going to win long term because they're betting Nerfy first innings on Tampa Bay at 1:00 today. They're every single game they need something on. They need first baskets in the NBA. Who race to 3 runs of baseball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's because obviously that's a degenerative mentality.
But this is what they do to people. You open up any of these apps, hey, get your same game parlay today for the game of the week, the game that primetime TV, NBA, NFL, whatever it may be. Here's free bets. Hey, if you're out with your friends, have fun. That's their whole thing. Have fun betting with your friends. Not you win, and here you go. Here comes the spinning wheel of death, and your $100 bet's $9.42.
I remember a guy story of when the Giants played the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl back in the mid-'80s, I believe mid-'80s, when Phil Simms was the quarterback of the Giants, and lifelong Giants fan, but a degenerative mindset when it came to gambling. And he had wrote a long column on how he just couldn't wait for the Giants to get to the Super Bowl, first time his lifelong team, and he ruined the whole day by betting on a coin flip because he couldn't wait for a result. I mean, that's what happens. This is what they prey on, folks, with this race to 3 runs, this first inning bets, all that kind of stuff, is they prey on the fact that you don't want to wait around 3 hours for a result. Now, first 5 innings in baseball, I'm all for that because of the specialization of the game and how managers handle pitching staffs. But again, this is a discussion for another day. We could do a whole show on this, for crying out loud.
We just did.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, it's something. It's a learning experience, though. I think
there's 20 minutes of hot air. Give me the free pick. I want to bet right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Give me a bet.
All right.
You mentioned Tampa Bay, Minnesota 1. Should I fade Keuchel?
Is there any game going in 10 minutes so we can really take care of their satisfaction? Anyway, the Ravens and Bengals will go to Jesse. Sean will be talking Jets, Cowboys. And folks, again, that discussion we just had is all part of discipline, money management, and asking yourself, are you a degenerate? Because if you're a degenerate, you're never going to win. And I don't mean to insult anybody, but when I say degenerate, I'm not talking about the volume of games like Sean puts out, because if you're winning at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's the urge to have some action going immediately or a result happening in the next hour to 30 minutes, whatever. So, all right, let's get to the meat and potatoes. Jesse, the Ravens and the Bengals. Ravens coming off a win. They did cover against Houston. I wasn't overly enamored with how good they looked in that game. And the Bengals, disappointing, terrible loss to the Browns, but we were happy with that result. I know myself and you. I'm not sure if Sean had the Browns as well. Did you have the Browns, Sean?
Yes.
Okay. All three of us had the Browns. So anyway, Jesse, the Bengals are a 3.5-point home favorite and 46.5. So the odds makers, are telling us that, we're not going to overreact to what we saw with Cincinnati last week. And that's usually a good idea from week 1 to week 2. But what do you think?
I think that I've been agreeing with Sean too much on this show. And it's going to be awful boring if I'm just sitting here agreeing with Sean. So my pick is going to be contradictory. I don't think Sean's going to like my pick here, or I'm going to disagree with what I think his pick is going to be. Let's say it that way. But we talk a lot about the process of handicapping, how different people handicap games. And as much as I agree with Sean, I think our process is very different. I think our styles are quite different. And my style as a handicapper, I don't know how to put a finger on it, but I like to take everything I can get from all sorts of angles, put it all together, and basically create a giant pros and cons list. I like to factor in, the situational, motivational, the bounce back. And I think that some people will look at this Bengals coming off a loss where Joe Burrow looked horrible. They got spanked in Cleveland. Now they return home. And at first glance, this looks like a great bounce back spot for the Bengals. But I'm not going to go that way, because I'm a little concerned. If you start taking every team that's coming off a bad loss to bounce back, you're going to end up riding with a lot of teams that are just have some serious issues that creates a downward spiral for them. And I'm concerned that this might be an off year for the Bengals. Joe Burrow, 82 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, 14 of 31 passing. Now, it was a bad weather game. It was a tough spot, regardless, on the road at Cleveland. But he got hit often, and he got hit hard in that game. So that tells me he could be banged up. That also tells me that his offensive line isn't protecting him. Baltimore can get to the quarterback as well. And another thing I noticed is they were working on his calf between plays, and there was still a lot of talk and a lot of focus on that injured calf. And he showed signs of rust. And I just don't want to go in hoping on a hope and a prayer that Burrow is going to bounce back this week. So I'm going to look at the total. The line of 40, the number of 46.5 is actually higher than it was in any of the previous 6 meetings between these two teams. Now, I'm a guy that looks at trends, but I'm also a guy that likes to get deeper into these trends, because some of my fellow handicappers will tell you that these two teams went over in 4 of the last 6 meetings. And that's true. Over what, though? As I mentioned, this total's higher than it was in each of those last 6 meetings. In fact, 4 of the last 6 games between these two teams, including last year's game, fell well short of 45 combined points. with Burrow struggling, with Burrow's rust and the potential calf injury, the offensive line not protecting him, combined with the Ravens' injury to J.K. Dobbins. You've got 2 injuries on the offensive line for the Ravens, and I'm just not that high on this Ravens offense. Anyways, I think Gus the Bus is, a solid backup, but he's not going to bust those big plays that J.K. Dobbins was going to bust. So under 46.5 is the play for me.
So it makes a lot of sense to me. Ravens Bengals under 46.5. You're right, Jesse. Even with betting angles like I use, if I do a parameter like 42.5 to 49 on a total, what good is it if how could I put this? A total is at 43. All right. And your parameter that you're using on the betting angle is 42.5 to 49. And you're playing, and the angle says you should go under. Well, there could have been a lot of games that went under between 43 and 49. Follow me? I think that's where you're going with this. These teams went over the total 4-6, but what was the average combined score during those games? And what was the average total? So correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse. I think that's what you're trying to make clear to the audience.
Yeah, I mean, quite simply, they didn't go over 46.5 in those games, and that's the number in this game. So
correct.
So the fact that they went over in those games is sort of irrelevant when the totals are.
Exactly right. So Sean, Cincinnati, terrible performance last week. The Browns defense looks to be very good. How much of it is attributed to Joe Burrow not getting in on the field during the preseason and having that injury that kept him on the sideline through most of training camp? And how much of it is Cincinnati's offensive line regressing to where it was a couple years ago when Burrow was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL? Your take?
Yeah, well, you have hurt guy, not playing, terrible weather. Cleveland's a pretty good team that nobody gives any respect to. And the fact that I think they've won 8 of 10 and now 6 in a row against Cincy in Cleveland. So not a shocker that they took care of business there. Why are we surprised? I'm with Jesse on the under here. Absolutely. But he mentioned the Bengals as a favorite off a bad loss. I saw on Twitter, teams off double-digit losses in week 1, week 2, 51 and 33, 61% ATS, and you got a gaggle of them this week.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with the overreaction sometime, and I'm not saying specifically to this game, but be real careful, folks, because the Cardinals' sin amongst a lot of sports bettors is from NFL week 1 to week 2. They have a short memory and they overreact to what they saw in week 1 going to week 2. I mean, Jesse, for example, the Giants -5.5 after how they looked on Monday night. The easy overreaction would be to fade them. I'm not saying the Giants should be the play, but do you agree that that's an important thing to keep in mind, is not overreacting from week 1 when you handicap week 2?
I guess my point of view, Ross, is the Giants and the Bengals are quite different to me, because the Giants getting smoked by 40 points at home, you got to look at that like it's an anomaly. They're not going to lose every game by 40 points. Joe Burrow struggling after coming off of an injury and his offensive line not protecting him. That's something I'm concerned about. Could this develop as a trend moving forward? Because let's face it, teams that lose by a lot of points often bounce back, but sometimes teams lose by a lot of points concurrently for weeks in a row, right? Or that team just goes sour. I guess what I'm saying is it's a cautionary tale. You've got to decide, did this team lose last week because it was just a one-off and it's a bad situation? Or do they have a fundamental flaw that I need to recognize now and not cost myself money by trying to bet on them to bounce back? And I'm not saying that I'm definitive on Cincinnati having that fundamental flaw, but I have my concerns that there's the potential for that. Like, put it this way, if Cincinnati has a losing season this year, I'm not going to be that shocked. If the Giants lose every game by 40 points, I'm going to be really shocked. So I think it's a different situation.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's you got to treat every situation as its own separate entity, is I think what Jesse's saying, and you got to do some real good evaluation there. There's no easy way to do things when it comes to handicapping any sport, folks. And as soon as you start no-braining your way through it with one trend or one angle every time, you're going to lose money. Anyway, Sean. When I looked at this matchup early in the week, when I did the assignments, it's before the Jets played on Monday night. And I said, this is a perfect matchup to give to Sean. It's a great matchup. The Cowboys are just -3 against the Jets at home. Jets coming off a Monday night game. Aaron Rodgers, Cowboys off that tremendous performance on Sunday Night Football against the Giants. However, a lot has changed, right? I mean, you lose Aaron Rodgers for the year, and now the line is 9.5 and 39.5 instead of 3 and 44.5. So do your best to adjust to what we're seeing.
And you know what? It's a good kind of like transition into we're talking about like overreactions and lines and stuff like that. Because we saw Seattle lose as an outright fave. Now they're a 3-point dog to a 6-point dog, but we see some injuries in there to boost that lineup. We see the Steelers get run out of home. And now they got some injuries too, and they're gone from like a pick 'em. Now they're down to about a +2 or whatever. And now here come the Jets, backup quarterback from 3 to a 9. Where do we go from here? I didn't want the Jets to sign Aaron Rodgers. I thought Wilson should get a shot. And for what their all inclinations are, they're going to let him play a little bit. I'm sure they're trying to get somebody else in here. I don't know. Listen, this is a spot here. I'm just got to look at the under. I don't want to I don't like laying double digits anywhere. As great as Dallas looked, they look awesome. They should be rolling along. I was ready to bet the Jets money line here, figuring they're losing on Monday Night Football to Buffalo by 10 or something. Everybody's going to be down on Aaron Rodgers. Look at he's washed out. Cowboys were the best team of football Sunday. Come in, Jets money line. Nice, easy winner for me. Except I get a backup quarterback, 10-point doggy, and a crazy line move. I'm going to stick with the under here. The Dallas offense, they didn't do a lot last. I mean, come on, it was a crazy weather game. You didn't get a lot out of them. I still got to see what I've said before. What are they getting out of new offensive coordinator with them? And they're going to want to run the ball. The Jets are, let's be honest, they're going to want to run with Cook and Hall back there. They don't want Wilson throwing the ball. They don't like him, so you don't think he's going to be chucking all over the place. And the Dallas defense, regardless, weather, sunny, snow, I think they're for real. Give me the under, even at 39.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas scored 40 points last week. One of them came on a blocked field goal return. The other one came on a pick 6. Another score was a result of a short field when Daniel Jones fumbled, or somebody fumbled from the Giants. But as I recall, Sean, I don't think Dallas even reached 300 yards of total offense in that game, even though they scored 40 points.
Yeah, well, they had a lot of turnovers. It was just, I mean, you can't really judge. I can't, and I'm a Dallas guy. I like the Cow. I can't judge them on. Again, I thought they'd lose. I thought Barkley and Jones would be able to run a little bit and some kind of. I mean, I still hit the under barrel. You know, it's a gift under. I'll take it, but yeah, I'm not sold on Dallas here to run up a 20-point. We saw a lot of big wins last week. I don't know. This is again. We talk about staying away from stuff.
Yep.
Laying basically 10 points with faves, even though it's 9.5. I don't think that's long-term success rate.
No, Jesse, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't ever want to cheer for anybody to get injured, so I don't want anybody to make the mistake thinking that I'm happy that Aaron Rodgers got injured. But I think in our preview shows before the season started, I said it on every show I was on. The guy's 40 years old. He goes to Burning Man. He does ayahuasca retreats. I did not have high expectations for Aaron Rodgers coming into the year. And I said many times, and people argued with me, that I didn't think he was going to finish the year healthy at his age, playing for a new team. And I wasn't that, I didn't expect it to go down the way it went down. But I certainly think the Jets should have had a contingency plan for this. And I'm a little bit skeptical that a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers is worth 6 points against the spread. And let's face it, if the Cowboys lost, like Sean said, he expected the Cowboys to lose to the Giants. Let's say let's say the Cowboys lost 27-24. The Jets won without Aaron Rodgers. Is the line still 9.5? It's probably closer to 5.5.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
And as I think we could all agree that any given Sunday, the Cowboys could still lose to the Giants. So the fact that they won 40-0, I'm not sure. I think it's too many points. I would lean towards Jets plus 9.5. I'm not going to be on it. I do like the under. I'll probably be on the under and not the side. But if I was going to take a side, I'd definitely take the points.
Yeah, they put the kid Wilson right into the fire last year. Let's not forget they drafted him number 1 2 years ago. So if you draft a quarterback number 1 just 2 years ago, and obviously you made that determination, you rushed him too quickly, but we're not willing to give up on him. So we're going to bring in a 39-year-old future Hall of Famer to make a run at the playoffs at the Super Bowl. I would think that your contingency plan better be, okay, if something goes haywire, we still got our number 1 draft choice. Now, having said that, there's a big distinction between where he is at his point of his career, meaning Wilson, compared to what Aaron Rodgers brings to the table. So again, we'll see what happens, but it's a tricky one because like these gentlemen just said, I mean, that's a pretty big jump, 6 points just because of a starting quarterback going down. And I get the difference between the two quarterbacks, but is 6 points that big of an adjustment really necessary? I don't know. We'll soon find out. Anyway, let me get to my game real quick here. The 49ers and the Rams, both of these teams are coming off impressive wins in week 1. I think more importantly, it was even more shocking to me how impressive the Rams were in week 1 because nobody expected nothing of this team. They go to Seattle on the road as a 4.5-point dog. They win the game handily, 30-13. They outgained Seattle in that game, 426-180. So it was a dominating performance. San Francisco, never easy to go to Pittsburgh and win. And they not only won, but they won decisively, and they dominated the contest. 30-7 win, outgaining the Steelers 391-239. And quite frankly, if you watch that game, it wasn't even as close as that 23-point final score would indicate. Here's the thing. In terms of regular season matchups, the 49ers have now won 8 straight regular season matchups dating back to 2019 against the Rams. And they've won those games pretty much decisively. As a matter of fact, over the last 3 seasons, San Francisco in regular season action, 6-0 straight up at ATS against the Rams, winning by an average of 11.2 points per game. Now, they did lose to the Rams when it mattered most. I believe it was the NFC Championship game. It was a postseason game the year the Rams went to the Super Bowl and won. San Francisco, by the way, since 2021, basically over the last 2 seasons, 10-0 straight up at ATS following a non-conference game. Again, they played at Pittsburgh last week, and they win those 10 games by an average of 16.9 points per contest. And anytime you have an NFL favorite playing in games 2 through 9 of the season, basically the first half of the season, and they're coming off a road win by 8 points or more, and they scored 24 points or more like the 49ers did, and they're playing a team like the Rams coming off a straight-up dog win by 10 points or more, those NFL favorites in that situation, 10-0 straight up in ATS since 2013. The average line in those games, Jesse, minus 10.2, goes hand in hand to what you were just saying. And the average point per game differential, 23.6. So I'm going to take San Francisco here. I don't like laying more than a touchdown on the road. But, guys, I don't think this is a normal road game because my experience has been since they moved into that new stadium, the Rams their fans seem to be outnumbered on a majority of the occasion when they play at home, and especially when they play San Francisco. So, Jesse, I'll leave it to you.
You guys remember that story that came out before the season started about Matthew Stafford not knowing his receivers' names?
Yeah.
Well, I think somebody might have been pulling our leg because he seemed to know them pretty good on Sunday. They both went for over 100 and something yards. But their names are actually Tutu and Paku. Sorry. Yeah, I could see how somebody would.
Tutu Atwell and who else are you referring to?
Paku Nadu or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paku Nakau or yeah. So not your typical names that would be easy to remember. Their names aren't Bob and Doug anyways. But I'm impressed with the young receiving core for the Rams. I don't want to write them off. I'm not going to write off that win at Seattle as a one-off. I actually think when you got it's one thing when a team has a result that you didn't expect and they've got the same old crew, but when they got a couple young guys that you've never heard of that are making contributions like that, I think that's something to keep an eye on. I might look for the dog in this one, actually, Ross. So I might have to disagree with your assessment.
Point well taken. So there's nothing wrong with disagreeing. We do it respectfully on this show. And if you disagree, folks, and you want to make a comment, that's fine. Just be respectful. That's all. Sean, respectfully, what do you think?
I got to say, and I had Seattle, and maybe I should have, maybe hindsight being 2020, bad bet considering that they went to overtime in the last week of the season last year against these guys. They had a battle versus who was John
Wolford.
John Wolf. I mean, they barely so maybe that was just a bad bet on my case there. We're talking about it earlier. I look at these past games against the Rams, and San Fran's just owned them when the Rams had good players, and they don't have good players. Yeah, you might go in and be able to be the Seattle team. I like the San Fran coach, even though he find ways to blow double-digit leads in championship games and Super Bowls. Regular season, the guy takes care of business. I'm totally wrong on Purdy, apparently. I mean, this guy, I guess, is the real deal. My Sam Darnold comeback player of the year ticket does not look good. I got to say that. I don't know if he's going to get in. A lot of garbage time, but I don't think he'll be chucking any touchdowns. I'm with you on the Niners here. I mean,
yeah, and like I said, it's not going to be an ordinary
defense isn't that
game.
good. I mean. Yeah. Seattle lost a couple offensive linemen in that game. Maybe they're just we're going to take care of business. The Rams are down. The Niners are not going to do that. Niners already got they're kind of looked at as, you're not going to be that good because how good your quarterback and who's stopping that offense? They're explosive. When they're on, boy, man, we saw it last year with Purdy and they put up 30-something points a game.
Yep. So, again, all right, let's go over our picks real quickly. I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers minus the 8 over the Rams. Jesse likes the Ravens and Bengals game under 46.5. Sean Higgs likes the Jets and Cowboys game under 39.5. All right, guys, it's time for you to tell the folks what you may have coming up this week and any hot streaks you want them to be alerted to. Jesse?
I do have my Monday Night Football game of the year going this Monday, and hot streaks, winning start to college football. I did go 2-0 with my game of the year plays in week 1. I had my non-conference game of the year win, Texas upsetting Alabama, and my AFC North game of the year was on the Browns upsetting the Bengals. You can grab all my football plays for the month of September at gamblersworld.net, and you'll be a happy camper if you do, I will say.
Yeah, don't forget. I mean, Jesse's talking about his college football and NFL getting off to great starts the last 2 years. Folks, you can get a subscription plan too, a 1 month all sports inclusive package, or you can get his NFL annual package, his college football annual package, each for $5.99. And also a combination of college football and the NFL for $8.99. That goes not only for Jesse, me and Sean as well, and everybody else over at gamblersworld.net. Sean, what do you got, buddy?
I got a little Thursday night NFL up. I'll have some college football this weekend. Of course, more NFL on Sunday, and probably a Monday night game. I already have them loaded up. I just got to throw the packages out there. So I'm definitely the guy you get a weekly pass for. We're loaded up. We're loaded up for the weekend.
Yeah, $175 for a 7-day pass, folks, all inclusive.
I'll come out to probably with me. It'll probably be like $1 a day.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, or per pick, right?
Dollar a play, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, in any event, again, Sean's a volume handicapper, and he does very well doing it. He's just not throwing stuff out there for the sake of throwing it out there. That's his philosophy. That's his style. And at the end of the day, when you look at his track record of winning over the years, he wins. Okay, that's all that matters. You just have to exercise proper money management, because if he hits 60% even, okay, or even 55, there's going to be some periods where he doesn't do very well, and you want to reap the rewards when he's hot. So money management is a key when it comes to dealing with a guy like Sean Higgs. All right, you can find me at gamblersworld.net as well. And coming off a win with the Cincinnati Reds last night, got off to a rough start in the NFL this week, 2-5, not good at all, but still 141-80 since 2010 in the month of September with my NFL, 64%. Folks, I am going to kick ass the rest of September. So jump in now, because I'm telling you, forget what happened last week. I'm going to be on fire the next couple of weeks, and I'm confident of that. Also, my college football, 22-13, 63%. Since December 3rd of last year. Major League Baseball, I told you about the Cincinnati Reds win. Since August 4th, I've been picking my spots in Major League Baseball, coming down the stretch, 35-20, good for 64% since August 4th with my Major League Baseball picks. Sean, you had something to say?
I said you're cursing. You're fired up. He's starting to think curse words.
All right. So anyway, yeah, kicking ass, Sean. It's not using the F-bomb. Anyway.
Still.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I'll go to confession after I leave this. All right. Until the next, and before we sign off, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, there's a WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your video box. If you're on your PC, just click that. It'll get you subscribed. Absolutely free. No strings attached. No hidden agenda. If you're on your mobile device, a black subscribe button right underneath the video box. Hit that. And one extra step, folks. I would appreciate if you also go into your YouTube settings and hit that notification alert bell for to be notified immediately upon any of our podcasts going up on this channel. Notification alert bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, that is. All right, the like button underneath. Jesse, what do you want them to do with that?
You take this little guy and you smash that like button.
So smash that like button, folks. Just a small token of appreciation.
I got to remember on Friday, I got to like put my mic in my headset, so when he yells, it'll be some kind of crazy echoing.
That's why Sean was moving his headphones around. He was in preparation for that. But anyway, folks, that's just a small token of your appreciation for the work and effort and the time we put in to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. For Jesse Shule, Sean Higgs, and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.